National Football League started off from a small meeting in Canton, Ohio. Well, from that meeting that took place on September 17, 1920, the National Football League was created. Today, I'm going to talk to you about the history of the National Football League. This is important because from this meeting, if it didn't happen, the National Football League wouldn't have been created. The people that were in that meeting didn't know at that time what the National Football League would be. The National Football League started off from a small league that grew strong. And then it would go through a merger with the American Football League. And then after that, it would create a championship that would be later known as the Super Bowl. And then the National Football League has created many legends who would be remembered. I'm going to first start off with talking to you about the early history of the National Football League. The meeting that took on the National Football League was created September 17, 1920 in Canton, Ohio. According to the NFL found in Canton, last updated January 1st, 2005 by the Pro Football Hall of Fame, the National Football League started off with 14 franchises and only 2 of them are still in play today. Those 2 that are still in play today are the Chicago Bears, who were originally founded as the Decatur Staleys, which is in Decatur, Illinois, which is only about an hour away. And the other one that's still in play today is the Arizona Cardinals, who were originally founded in Chicago as the Chicago Cardinals, then moved to the St. Louis to be able to become the St. Louis Cardinals, now in present-day Arizona. In 1927, the NFL would ensure its future by dropping the smaller city teams as Quad Cities and Akron that are smaller in population to help ensure its future by having bigger market areas. While the NFL would start off strong, it would endure a rival with a competitor league known as the American Football League. While the National Football League was thriving, another league called the American Football League would start up. The American Football League was created in 1959 and would not last that long. It only lasted for 11 years. The 2 leagues viewed each other as a threat, and so they viewed each other as a threat. So in 1966, the 2 would agree to a merger, and the merger would take effect in 1970. The NFL made it through competition, and then would create a championship known as the Super Bowl. During the rivalry between the National Football League and the American Football League, the creation of the Super Bowl was made. The Super Bowl was first held January 15, 1967 between the American Football League's Kansas City Chiefs and the National Football League's Green Bay Packers. According to the National Football League, last updated December 22, 2014 by the New World Encyclopedia, Super Bowl V was the first Super Bowl to happen after the merger. It took place January 17, 1971. The team that has the most Super Bowl victories from the first ever Super Bowl that happened is the Pittsburgh Steelers, who have currently won 6 Super Bowls. The most current Super Bowl winners is the New England Patriots, who defeated the Atlanta Falcons, and it was the first ever time in the Super Bowl went to overtime. In Todd Hallett-Slope's magazine article, when its Super Bowl 2018 date, location, odds for the Super Bowl 52 published in Sporting News, it states, and I quote, February 4th, 2018 will mark the 52nd Super Bowl, end quote. Through the NFL's history, there has been many legends to come across the league. In Nathan Fenno's newspaper article, How the Media Helped Overturn the NFL's Unwritten Ban on Black Players, published on January 28, 2017 by the Los Angeles Times, one of the legends of the National Football League is Kenny Washington, who is the first ever African-American player to play in the NFL. He played for the Indianapolis Colts and would later go on play for a couple more years and end his career, and he would go on to appear in magazines and other articles. Then in Kaylee Weatherly's article, Super Bowl Trophy, What is it and why is it named after Vince Lombardi, posted February 5th, 2017 by the website SB Nation. The next biggest name of the NFL is Vince Lombardi, whom the Super Bowl trophy is named after. Vince Lombardi was the head coach for the Green Bay Packers, who would win multiple Super Bowl and national championships, and would end his career with the Washington Redskins, and he died after a game in a hospital, playing the game he loved to play and coach. And then a fun fact is the Green Bay Packers are the only fan-owned and fan-run football team. The last time a stock of the Green Bay Packers was sold was in the early 2000s. And before that, it was 30 years before you could buy a stock of the Green Bay Packers. The final biggest name in the NFL is George Halas, who is a player, coach, and a founder of an NFL team. The team he founded was the Decatur Staleys, who would eventually move to Chicago to become the Chicago Staleys, and then become the Chicago Bears. While with the Chicago Bears, he also was a player, and he coached, and then he would eventually die also playing and coaching the game that he loved. A group of people who attended the first meeting of the National Football League had no idea what the league would happen and turn into. The National Football League started off from a small league that would eventually turn into a merger with a competitive league. And then they would enter a Super Bowl era, and then they would create legends that everyone remembered. This is the history of the National Football League.